Hello people, it's me, Courtney. I'm back again with another video, and in this video today I'm going to talk about very much understanding how the workplace operates. And in this chapter there's a section called Observe How Your Colleagues Operate at Work. So in this section, this is just going to be a very short video just about, when you're at work, it's important to understand how your colleagues operate, right? The reason why I say this is because I've gone to work and I've very much, worked among agency staff that's coming. Maybe they're coming for the day, maybe sometimes they're in for a few days, maybe for a week, maybe they'll be there for, long term. And I've seen them come in, and this one agency staff I used to work with came in and very much tried to tell me and my colleagues how to do our jobs. Now, this person's already come in just for the one day, and I think when they left the workplace, I think some of my colleagues were complaining about that person, and my workplace at the time didn't even, didn't request them to even come back, right? This is what I'm trying to say. You don't just come into a place where you've never worked before, and you haven't observed your colleagues, your work environment, and you just come in and you're trying to tell people who have been working at that place for many, many years, who know their job inside out, how to do their job. Right? This is not wise. So if there's anybody out there that's going into a workplace for the first time, right? Not in terms of like, you've never worked before, but a place where you've never worked in your life. This is a new environment for you. Right? When you're going into a new working environment, it is your duty to understand and observe how your colleagues operate. Don't just go in there and start throwing your weight around, right? Acting all entitled, acting like you're the smartest person in that workplace. You don't operate with that level of arrogance, right? Humble yourself and study the workplace that you're working in. Right? Understand your colleagues, understand who they are, understand how they operate, understand and observe how they deal with stress, right? If your colleagues are very sensitive to certain things, then be careful what you say and how you say it. Don't just say it without thinking, because this is how you can cause problems in the workplace. You've come in, you've very much, affected the working dynamic of your colleagues, and they work a certain way and they have a certain order and a structure and how they do things. And if you haven't studied how they work and how they get things done, you can possibly come in and very much disrupt the flow of your workplace, right? And sometimes you could be that colleague that nobody likes because you've come in and you've just changed the whole dynamic, and you've very much just disrupted the very harmony of how they work. And that is something you don't want to experience. I've seen new people come to the workplace and cause problems, and then to the point where they end up leaving that workplace, and they didn't last there. They didn't last too long because they clearly didn't observe the environment. They were entitled, right? They very much thought their way was right, instead of learning the environment and learning how it works and learning how their colleagues work and learning how their colleagues operate, and have come in and cause problems for themselves, to the point where it got so bad for that colleague they had to end up leaving, right? Because nobody in the workplace ended up liking them. And this is what happens when you don't observe your colleagues, how they work, how they very much deal with stress. Because sometimes you've got some colleagues that don't deal with stress too well. So if you take the time to acknowledge that colleague and how they handle stress, it just very much puts you in a position to know how to very much handle that colleague and how to deal with them when they're stressed. Okay, so when they get stressed, you can say, okay, they're a bit stressed, let me stay calm. And that can sometimes even help them calm down, right? But if you haven't observed them and how they work, then sometimes you and that colleague can probably, bump heads, and it can cause a bit of problems. So it's just, just be mindful of how all your colleagues operate, and it just allows you to sort of, adapt yourself to very much how they are and how they move, and you can sort of just very much sort of maneuver and still work with your colleagues, even as difficult as they can be, because you've got some colleagues that are very, very difficult to work with, right? And I know for some colleagues you may find them unbearable, but there's always a way. And as people say, you know, wherever there's a will, there's a way. You just have to be able to diversify your character and sort of learn the personality of your colleague and just very much adapt. That's it. It's just all about having an adaptable personality, and that's what it's going to take to work in the workplace in Babylon, because the Babylon workplace can be very, very toxic, right? So if you don't have an adaptable personality where you're not able to adapt to your working environment, you are going to have problems at work. So it's not about having to, you know, like your colleagues, because there's colleagues in the workplace that you're not going to like, but you're not there to like them. You're there to do a job. Just remember what you're there for. You're there to do a job. You're not there to love anyone, to be friends with anybody, to like people. You have to learn to work with different levels of colleagues from different backgrounds and very much different characteristics of different colleagues that you're going to work with, right? So the key to your survival in the workplace is to observe how your colleagues operate, because by doing that, it allows you to very much adapt your character, not change who you are, but adapt it to very much suit the needs of your working environment. And that is the message of this video, and that's the message from me to you, and to very much observe your colleagues and how to work with your colleagues in the workplace by observing them. So I say that to say, on this note, I'm going to end this video, and I shall see you in my next video.